Space, the final frontier. I have always wanted to say that. These are the voyages of me, Wes Hazard. Our 8-episode mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new people dressed as Deadpool, to boldly split infinitives where infinitives never have been before split. That's the nerdiest joke ever. It's the writers. That's right. This episode, we'll of course be talking about Babylon 5. I mean Star Trek. Okay, that's the nerdiest joke ever.
The Secret Worlds of Boston Comic-Con, presented by your New England Chevy dealers.
Star Trek is part of a long tradition of science fiction that goes back almost 200 years. We're about to take a trip through that legacy. A trek, if you will. Hey, where's the warp drive on this thing? And our journey brings us here, to MIT. More specifically, to this building. Perhaps you're familiar with this building. Maybe you've driven by it a bunch of times. But this building has a secret. And today, we're gonna get a rare look inside. MIT, I kind of thought this would be a teleporter, but you know, whatever. How you doing? I'm Wes. Say hello to Spencer. He's a sort of librarian at a very unusual library.
We have over 60,000 volumes, and it makes us the largest open-stack collection of science fiction and fantasy in the world. That's what we say. Whether that's true or not, it's possibly up to some interpretation.
I'd go with it. I'll vouch for you.
So Mitzvah started by a small group of dedicated students in 1949. It actually started out of their dorm rooms. They would bring that box right there around to different dorms and lend out books. Their mission originally was to own all of the science fiction. I challenge you to ask us anything you can think of. We will probably have it.
I call the people who actually are able to stump you guys super nerds, and I say that term with respect.
And they've actually done some structural studies that say if we get too many more books, we might have to move to somewhere else, otherwise the floor is going to start to buckle.
That's a good record. Chase it. Chase that achievement. My question, where are the magic cards?
We don't have magic cards. It's not really games. No, we focus on the books. The magic cards, they can go elsewhere.
I had a great squirrel deck idea. Okay, well, cool. What about erotic vampire fiction?
We get a little bit more of that than we would actually want. We get all kinds of donations.
Nice.
I should draw your attention to our review of Twilight.
Oh, yes, I like it already. What are these Charlie Chaplin wrenches all about? This is very interesting to me.
So these are what we use as our gavel.
I'm frightened.
Wow, that was loud.
Yeah, that was very loud.
Star Trek was definitely a very, very influential piece of science fiction media. It got a lot of people who weren't necessarily into reading science fiction into that whole genre. Star Trek helped bring science fiction to a wider and more mainstream audience. We have stuff in Mandarin, we've got stuff in Spanish, we have stuff in German, we have stuff in Klingon.
Nice. I love how there's no difference between like the standard languages and then sort of the fictional ones. So we got Czech, Dutch, French, German, same shelf, Klingon right there, boom. What is the weirdest thing you've come across?
The weirdest thing I came across? I found an anthology that was just alien erotica or something, alien sex, something along those lines. Just the weirdest thing.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I did not want to read that.
I'll read it for you and then describe what happens.
Okay. This is probably a very, very classic science fiction cover there. You have the man shooting the giant monster who's standing over the scantily clad woman.
Only slightly problematic. No.
Yes.
Star Trek is wonderful because it was very progressive. Like, you look at the original series, it was the first interracial kiss. Yeah. People take that for granted, that was epic. And by paving the way with that, with that culture, you start to normalize it. Mm-hmm. And that is a good thing.
Let's say I come in, I love Twilight.
You love Twilight.
And I managed to ignore the fact that you have a copy of Twilight hanging from the ceiling with a stake through the heart. So, what are you going to recommend to me?
Vampire novels. I would probably point out the Dresden Files series, which is an urban fantasy series by Jim Butcher.
What I've noticed is like you guys aren't really snobby at all. Like, you know, it's like if it's part of the world, we'll have it. Even the Twilight with the stake in it, it's still here.
And
that's a copy.
And we still have an actual copy of Twilight on the stacks too. Don't worry. We try to have a really welcoming atmosphere such that anyone who wants to can come in and participate in science fiction and fantasy.
Ghosts who went to school. All right, this appears to be a children's book. What would you do if a ghost came to your class? I would run.
That just seems like wise advice.
Basis for the movie Free Jack. Free Jack, if you have not seen, is Mick Jagger's greatest cinematic role. This is what I'm talking about. This is The Werewolf's Kiss. Yeah, this is the sort of off-label stuff. I don't really advertise this, but you come in here in the right hour, you get a cool key holder. I'll tell you all about this. Spook hole. That could go either way. We're just going to put that right back. And we have the novelization of Blade Trinity. That's all I'm going to say about that. Are there any items in this collection that you would call just blatant Star Trek ripoffs? Babylon 5, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, Babylon 5, definitely. Copies of a NASA University conference.
I'm going to take this and see if we can get a better read out of this than perhaps Twilight. Proceedings of the NASA University Conference on the Science and Technology of Space Exploration, Volume 1. Let's take a look, random page here. About 3/4 of the surface of Mars is covered by so-called bright areas, which are orange-colored and have been interpreted as deserts. All right, that's pretty interesting, you know. The foregoing formulation is essentially the Meyer problem of the calculus of variations, and upon applying the theory, one obtains as necessary conditions for an extremal value of J, the Euler-Lagrange equations, and then there's Greek symbols, which I don't understand.
It's Euler.
Oh, burn, nerd burn. What are the 3 laws of robotics?
3 laws of robotics? Well, you have the 0th law of robotics, of course. A robot shall not allow humanity to come to harm unless it conflicts with to harm or by an action. So not harming. Let me reshoot this.
All right, we're gonna reset. Go.
We should have the 2nd law. A robot shall not. I'm a roboticist.
For real?
Yes, I am a roboticist.
So
yeah,
humanity's dead.
Clearly we're doomed.
Are there any books in this collection that you think might have influenced Star Trek itself?
I imagine that the Star Trek writers and Gene Roddenberry himself probably read a lot of the classics, your Asimov, your Verne, your Clarke, that were publishing around the time and even before then.
Gene Roddenberry, sci-fi fan and LA police officer for 9 years.
We actually have a few signed original scripts from Star Trek. So this is a copy of The Devil in the Dark, an original series episode written by Gene Kuhn. It's signed by the writer.
Oh, wow. So if you want to understand Star Trek, you have to understand science fiction. And to understand science fiction, you should probably come here.
I wish the spaceships were real. I mean, it's such an obvious part of the Star Trek universe that we tend to forget it. But with all these space travel movies, I'm like, let's just get to the basics. Wouldn't it be great if we could actually do this in a meaningful way, rather than conform to the physics which we think we have, which says, you're not likely going to be able to do this given the scientific understanding that we have right now. I'll just take the spaceships. Yeah, the spaceships would be awesome.
Don't miss Shatner. Yeah, you know who the hell I'm talking about. Shatner. Damn right. Plus, director and Captain Kirk extraordinaire Vic Mignogna from Star Trek continues at Boston Comic-Con, August 12th through the 14th at the Seaport World Trade Center.
The course is called Power and Responsibility, Doing Philosophy with Superheroes. You can find it at Smithsonian X and Harvard X, the edX curriculum. You'll have an opportunity to be introduced to all philosophy by way of studying superhero stories.
Check out Hadron Gospel Hour at hadrongospelhour.com. Tell your friends. Find us on Facebook. Like us. And remember, fight the... Oh, shoot. I'm forgetting our taglines.
Come check out the award-winning lineup of tech-savvy Chevy vehicles on site at Boston Comic-Con, August 12th through the 14th. To purchase tickets and for more information, go to bostoncomiccon.com.